Hello and welcome to Clay to Canopy. Today I'm going to be taking this pile of wood scraps and making some platters. If you have been following along, you know that I attempted to make a platter mold so that I could cast the platter for this environment that I've been working on. And if you have not been following along and have no idea what I'm talking about, please check out the playlist under the New England Sunporch. I'm putting together an entire environment from the ground up, completely built from scratch. Before I go any further, if you are not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. It really does help me out, and I am trying to build up my numbers. The mold was a crash and burn. That's okay, sometimes these things happen, and to remedy that situation, I decided that I am going to make some platters out of wood. Now I have just a pile of my scraps here, a piece of plywood that I have an idea about playing with, and basically my scrap bin. So I'm gonna just go to town messing around today. I have no plan as usual, right? I never have a plan. I'm just gonna do what I do and see where the day gets me. My goal is to make 3 very unique platters that will fit onto the table that I made, and one will be chosen to use in the final room. For the first tray, I glued up a bunch of my scraps, making sure that all of the grain were running in the right direction. I wanted the dominant colors of the side grain to be really prominent. Getting to use them in a situation like this really brought out all of these different exotics and domestic wood colors, but gave me the opportunity to use up something that probably would have gone in the trash anyway. Once it was completely dried, I did have a bit of wonkiness, so I went ahead with my angle grinder and try and even out the surface. I did not want to run this over a joiner or planer because of the mismatch of grain, and I knew that that would end up with an explosion, especially since I have these pieces running in the opposite direction. Once I was happy with the surface being as flat as I could get it with the grinder, I went over to my bandsaw and cut up a nice curved shape. And then I finished it off with some sanding. I used a piece of plywood and some dowels for the second tray. I had this idea to make it look speckled by drilling some holes and sinking in dowels. The use of the multicolored hardwood would create what I hoped would be a speckled effect resembling glitter. It was a fairly simple process. I just drilled a bunch of holes, added some glue, drove in the dowels, and then used a pair of wire snips to clip off the ends. To complete the board, it did require some finish sanding just to make sure the heads of the dowels were fully flush. But I didn't do that until the second day once I made sure that everything had dried properly and set. For the final tray, I took some leftover mahogany and I started to sketch an organic shape. For me, organic really means some kind of bean shape. I don't know why, but anytime I sit down to sketch something organic, it ends up looking like a bean. We're gonna call this a giant lima bean. No, we'll call it giant Christmas lima bean. I clamped this up and then took out my carving tools. And after a few cracks of that mallet, I whipped out my angle grinder because that was just crazy. Don't even know why I keep around these gouges in the first place. Once the interior shaping was complete, I headed over to the bandsaw to rough cut down my bean shape. Then it was back to the angle grinder to finish off all of my fine tuning, and that also included a round of sanding with angle grinder sanding pads. Alright, here we are. Everything is sanded down. Now normally I would be using my butcher block conditioner, but the issue I'm having is I don't know what's going on at my Home Depot. Could not find a bottle of this. I can probably order it. I'll be waiting around again. So I did find just some straight up mineral oil. I get this in the pharmacy section at Target. It's used as a laxative. Conditioners and butcher block oils that you normally find are some kind of blend of mineral oil that is food grade along with some other things. It has some waxes in it that are really great for the sheen on the boards. First up, I'm going to go ahead and finish all of these with a layer of the mineral oil. If you have wooden boards or wooden cooking utensils, you can most certainly do this type of finish for them, and it's just a wipe on. If I can get it open. Come on now. I am just gonna fully saturate these boards, let this oil soak in, probably gonna give them several coats, and then I'll finish it off with my butcher block conditioner. Your end grain when you're finishing things are always going to soak up so much more oil, so just keep that in mind. Probably have to go over your end grain several times. All of these have been cleaned. I gave them a wipe down with rubbing alcohol because again, my Home Depot does not have denatured alcohol right now. So yeah, I just gave them a rub down with that. It's all right to leave a pretty thick layer on. All right, so I'm gonna give these a couple hours to kind of soak in, probably come back, give it a few more coats, and then finish it up with the other wax. Well, here they are finished. So here's the deal. I have a Clay to Canopy Facebook page and an Instagram. So if you are not following me now on Instagram or Facebook, please head on over and do that. And I'm gonna post these up on Facebook and on Instagram, and I'm gonna ask you guys to vote on which of these wooden serving trays you think would look best in the environment. The winning serving tray is going to be the one that ends up in the room in the final reveal. So that is all I have for you for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, share, and subscribe if you have not done so already, and stick around to see how this whole room comes together.